I'm your host, John Tobacco. I've been walking these streets through the caverns of Wall Street, pounding the pavement for 25 years. This is Federal Hall. The capital of capitalism is right behind me. This is where the politics meets the economy, and we're gonna bring it all to you here on What's the Deal. We're bringing you real experts with real understanding, not talking heads, not guys who manage their mommy and daddy's money.
I see all of these creative people stepping on the flag and calling a military baby kill, and I couldn't understand that.
We'll be the only show on television that every week has one whole segment based on cryptocurrency.
There is room and an opportunity for a global currency.
Anywhere except in bookstores that hide it because it's a pro-Trump book.
Tell me, what's the deal?
What's the deal?
Free donuts for everyone.
Great!
What's the deal? Welcome back. You're watching continuing coverage of the Newsmax TV alternative NFL programming. This is where all voices can be heard, and we answer the age-old question on a variety of politics, business, economy, and where they all intersect. Today, joining us in the hot seat with some big shoes to fill, the last couple of weeks, the exclusive interview have been with Mike Lindell, the founder of MyPillow. We also have Steve Bannon in an exclusive one-on-one. And today, joining us in the one-on-one spot is my dear friend, a legendary conservative Republican artist, a guy who's traveled America, stopped in all 50 states, and painted the roofs of houses and warehouses with American flags to express his patriotism, to express his love for the country, and make people understand that it's not only liberals and progressives that are into the arts. And Scott, we've been friends since we're kids. I've known your whole career. You're an honor to call a friend. But tell us what inspires you, and tell us how you're embraced across the country when you get out there into Trump land.
Well, again, like you said, I'm kind of an oxymoron. I'm a conservative artist in New York City. Look, you look at Hollywood, if they find out that you're a Republican in the acting world, you don't get the part. You're the stock boy in the X-Lax commercial in the back of the scene. It's the
Unless
same
you're
thing
a
in
Republican and you go to Harvey Weinstein's office, then you still have a chance if you sit on the green couch.
If you sit on the green couch,
Got
a little
it.
como si chiama,
Got it.
But listen, I've been doing this. I've been an artist my whole life, as you know. But I got into this patriotic thing back in the 90s when I went to go find myself as an artist.
Mm-hmm.
I come from Staten Island. I got a gift.
Of course.
New York City. Where are you going to make it? In the art world. So I go there. What do I see? I see all of these creative people. The creative people who should be the most patriotic, because we get to test the boundaries of that First Amendment.
That's right.
Like nobody else. More than
right.
you,
That's
more than
right.
Frank, more than a policeman. And they were stepping on the flag and calling a military baby kill. And I couldn't understand that. I could not get through my head how this was.
One thing that I can tell you, years ago, there was an art display of the Virgin Mary where they threw feces.
Yeah, they
on
painted
it,
elephant dung. Not only elephant dung, people forget there was cut out female vaginas from porno magazines put on there too. So the Virgin Mary.
You did a counter protest.
Yes.
And exercised your First Amendment.
Exactly. Right. Now, here's the point. I wound up going there and opening up my easel.
You were shortly incarcerated after that.
Yes, I was. Okay. That was my first arrest. Yes, and but anyway, I wound up throwing horse manure at the front of the building. I said, here's my canvas, the front of the building, and here's my medium. And there was some press there, and I threw horse manure at the building. What is horse manure?
On the
facade of the Brooklyn Museum.
That's right.
What is horse manure? It's wet grass. It smells a little bit.
Fertilizer.
It's not like dog
fertilizer.
Exactly. So anyway, it was the point I was making.
Right.
But this is
kind of hate.
This is the issue. If it was a privately funded institute, gallery, museum, I would have fought for even I didn't believe it with what he did. As an artist, I would have fought for the death, for his right to have that in the gallery.
But for the public.
It was a publicly funded institute. And I was the only artist, okay, in the whole city. Every 10,000 artists were protesting for this, and I was the only one. And everybody said, Scott, you're going to ruin your art career. And I said, I don't give a
That's a real artist.
This is exactly it. The true artist follows his heart.
And you could see that he is no need to excuse yourself. He's not afraid to express himself, obviously. And on Newsmax, when I say we answer the age-old question of what's the deal, We're telling you what the real deal is. We're not bringing in talking heads. We're not bringing in professors from Yale and Harvard. We're talking about people that know where the rubber meets the road. And Scotty has been in his America Mobile. What do we call your?
I call her Betsy. She's
Betsy.
hand-painted.
He has a red, white, and blue flag painted. We'll probably be running a B-roll right over this right now.
Yeah,
But a
got
red,
all
white, and blue
skulls
flag painted Suburban with the big bull horns out on the front. And that thing has traveled the country and back. What's the biggest flag you've ever painted?
I had the biggest flag ever painted. I had that title. And I did it in 2010 in a warehouse, rooftop. Everything's bigger in Texas. And I did it was 150,000 square feet, 3.5 acres. And everybody, people that paint the flag, they just paint the stripes. My flags.
He does. It's a furling flag
It's
with wonderful shadowing. Yeah. It's not your standard everyday red, white, and blue flag. These are beautifully painted pieces of art. Everyone has a unique style to it, although they're very similar in what you try to get on your canvas. How hard is it to be a conservative artist in a liberal art world?
It's tough because, like I said, it started when I first tried to get in. I said, I don't really want to be part of this club, this open-minded, tolerant club that they constantly say they are. They're open-minded to any kind of decadent, violent art. And again, art is art, but that's okay. But because I'm from Staten Island, I don't pronounce my R's properly.
You got a vowel at the end of your name.
And I got a vowel at the end of my name.
Now that I think about it, we got 3 vowels. This is the O show. We got Morano, Tobacco, LoBaido.
I'm a straight white Italian guy from Staten Island, so I don't exist in the art world.
And you know what?
I can't be an artist.
It takes 3 hours to make an ooh.
On that point, when you look at some of the Me Too movement and you see some of the stuff that's going on with congressmen, is the straight, white, Christian, middle-aged man under attack in America?
Well, you asked such an interesting question. I'm not going to go so far as to say they're under attack, but I do think that there's a tremendous feeling of alienation among middle-aged, straight, white men. And I think that's part of the reason that you see this alienation manifest itself in people that are a little off kilter, doing things like shooting up houses of worship, doing all sorts of other things. So I do think that feeling of alienation, because society, government, media is making very clear that group, the group that you just described, is not welcome and is not going to be propped up like it's seemingly every other group is. Every other group, if you were to join a group, advocating for minority women in media, you'd have no trouble securing funding. If you were to join a group promoting the cause of American Indians going into politics, you'd have no trouble getting booked on television. But if you were to try to start a group advocating for the cause of heterosexual white men, you'd be vilified
Never. That's not happening.
as a racist. And anybody that gave to that group would be demonized and excoriated and just thrown off any sort of polite society stage ever. So I don't think they're under attack. But I do think they're feeling alienated because that's the one group that's being told in the 21st century that we live in now, hey, you know what? You're not necessarily welcome.
If you ever...
It's our fault. See, that's what I don't get. Everything is our fault. I was born in 65. I wasn't around for the riots. I don't have a racist bone in my body. But because it's like, look at how emasculating everything is. You can't even... Guys can't go to a bar and talk to a girl and flirt with a girl anymore. Look what's going on. It's like... I'm the cause of everything that's going on in the world.
Most guys don't even bother anymore. They just go on their phone and swipe left, swipe left, tell a girl to come over to their apartment. And that's part of what's starting to affect humanity today, that people don't even know how to human interact anymore.
That's a big part of it.
I mean, this is like prehistoric behavior. This is what's been happening for years. No one had bad intentions. You're dancing with girls.
Right, and going back to the whole thing now is we're showing kids... look, I never did anything. I never raped any woman. I never drugged anyone. I didn't have to. You know what I mean? I was a good-looking young artist. Some guy.
You're so
a
suave.
couple of extra drink.
You would just be walking around with the palette and the little beret to the side.
No beret. Maybe I had one beret. But the point is like you're now. This is another social lesson on a big scale with media and everything, telling young guys, coming up that, the testosterone builds. That's what.
You can't
listen,
do anything.
They cannot do anything. You can't even look at a girl the right way. And it's like.
If a woman, it seems lately, feels the slightest thing or remembers it from 20 years ago or 30 years ago, that guy is under indictment by the court of public opinion, and he's guilty until proven innocent.
You know what it does? It destroys the real Me Too movement.
True.
It's the same thing
Agreed.
with the word, and no one talks about this, the word racism. Okay? Racism is one of our historic, most important words. It's an ugly word, but it's part of our history. It's real, and it was really real back then. And when every day I'm called a racist, you're called a racist because I voted for Trump, or because that you're killing that word. You're killing that important word. And the same thing's happening with this sexist.
Well, here's the thing. People, they're talking about Trump being divisive. They're kind of saying that his behavior caused a Democratic zealot to go kill a bunch of Jewish people. The guy's got Jewish grandkids. He just moved the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem that presidents have been promising for years. They're trying to make him the cause of a shooting. It's like, it's out of control.
Aren't we used to that? And that's what's building up the base. Whether it's Robert De Niro coming out and saying F Trump on front of all that. He's jumping up.
Hillary Clinton says it's a civil war until we win.
Listen,
So that's not
we used to get
America.
angry about that. I'm happy. I want them to keep
They're
doing
showing
that.
themselves.
They're just building. Every time they put an axe to his star in Hollywood, or De Niro comes out, or they blame Trump for this because his nose hair was hanging out. That just builds this base.
It does.
It's beautiful. Now, the reason I created this patriotic T-shirt, literally, it's a T-shirt, because people were getting the shit kicked out of them for wearing a Trump shirt. So I said, let me come up with some other way to how to support him subtly. The T. So if you're wearing this in the wrong part of town, it's a T-shirt. It's a fucking T-shirt.
I ask almost everyone that comes on the show, and we have Republicans, Democrats, Independents, we have Libertarians, everything. I have this theory that, there are very few people that are 100% red or 100% blue. Like, they just check every box on the Republican or Democrat line. Most people that we know, that we respect, that we associate with, they have a few of each. Yeah. And that kind of middle area is the purple area. There's some reds and some blues. There's different shades across it. But there's more people that I call purple people, right? Then there are reds and blues.
Because I travel to each state, I stop in big cities as well as I stop in the middle America, in these little towns, where the coalmen work and the truck drivers. So there is a lot of hard red, and get to the cities, there's a lot of hard blue. And there's some purple. I mean, I consider myself purple on a lot of issues, gay marriage, and,
That's what I'm saying. There's so many topics that you cannot, if you're 100% red or blue, you're the zealot.
Yeah.
Most of America has, even if you have 90% blue and 1 or 2 red, you have more in common with these people in the middle than the 100% binary Republicans and Democrats.
Nature makes people purple.
Steve Bannon was an exclusive interview on the show here, and he agreed that the part of America that he put his finger on the pulse for Trump was those purple people, even Democrats that had found, you know what, I don't care if I hate this guy Trump, I just want to break the chain. I want to see somebody else who's anti everything. He beat 16 Republicans. He beat the Democrats. People were just like, damn, let's just go with him for the hell of it, almost.
Yeah.
To see if there's a change.
Well, there was also it was the concept that both parties wanted somebody different. They wanted somebody outside the establishment, and that's why Bernie Sanders.
If they didn't rig it for Hillary.
Right.
Bernie Sanders would probably be president.
That's
right
why
now,
Bernie Sanders rose up.
Me.
And that's why Donald Trump rose up.
I know that.
2 total outsiders.
Okay.
Thank God Donald Trump won.
Okay. But, Scott, I think there's a great plan out there to help you with all the charities you work with and to get your artwork out there. And could we do something cool right here on What's the Deal with our affiliate and friend at lottery.com, where we maybe figure out how one of your original works can go out, someone can buy a raffle and possibly win a multi-$1,000 piece of art. Can we do something like that?
That's what I do.
You give some of the
can never
proceeds
say
to
no.
charity.
Exactly.
You
I'll
get a
pick
couple
nice
of bucks
veterans
to put
charity.
gas in Betsy, and everybody's happy.
I think it's a great idea.
Okay. We're making a deal on What's the Deal. We're bringing conservative artist Scott LoBaido to 50 million homes across America. This is a platform at What's the Deal where people of all political persuasions can be heard, can be seen. We talk it through, and just like we did on the sports fields of Staten Island and across America, at the end, win, lose, or draw, we shake hands and we leave as friends. Scotty, thank you very much. We'll see you next week on What's the Deal. We'll see you right after you watch this commercial. Don't tune out. We'll be back right after this.
I got a quick question.
What's up, Rob?
Why are you in a suit today?
So I came in my best I could John Tobacco suit with my John Tobacco socks right here. You see that?
Hey, welcome back. You're watching What's the Deal on Newsmax TV. It's Sunday, and it's alternative NFL programming. If you want to know the deal, you're tuned into the right place. What's the deal? And we got the guy who knows the deal on many things joining us today. It's Eric Metaxas. Eric hosts a radio show right here at AM 970, The Answer in New York City. And you're also the author of a disguised children's book, Donald Drains the Swamp.
Do I hold it up for the cameras?
Yeah. Okay.
It's let me tell you, it really is a children's book. But when I first wrote it, I thought it's going to be one of those people don't know this about me. I've written 30 children's books over the years, right? And every time you write a children's book, if it's really good, adults love it too. I mean, if you have to read it to your kid, you want to find it funny, right?
Okay.
So the best stuff is stuff that adults get a chuckle, that the 3-year-old's not going to get it, but he'll get it when he's older. It's like when we used to watch Bugs Bunny cartoons and he would imitate Humphrey Bogart. You know, you wouldn't know when you're 8 years old who he's imitating or whatever it is. So this book has a lot of political humor in it, but it is a kid's book. It's a simple story about a caveman named Donald who drains the swamp. He goes up against the big swamp creatures. The biggest, baddest swamp creature is a dinosaur called the Georgosaurus. Some adults may find that funny.
Right.
One of the reasons that I want to promote this book, okay, is because Stephen Colbert has a quote-unquote kids book out there, okay? It's nasty, anti-Trump political humor. It is not a kids book, but it looks like a kids book. You're seeing this more and more. Like, as a joke, people put this stuff out there. Now, this is a gag gift for adults, but if you give it to a kid, it's still a kid's book. There's nothing nasty in here. But the Colbert stuff, a lot of the anti-Trump stuff, I don't need to tell you, it's nasty, it's vicious. They have lost the ability to be lighthearted about things. I wanted to do something that is fun, that celebrates the president, celebrates what's going on. But even if you give it to a friend who doesn't love the president, they won't be offended. It's not nasty. Even they will probably laugh at it.
As far as I'm concerned, I used to think Stephen Colbert was a great talent.
Yeah, we all
I used
did.
to watch him on the Daily Show, and he used to play this character, and it was really clever. Even though I didn't agree with the subject, the political views, I agreed and understood their creativity and the way they were using satire to kind of get their point across. I think he sold out people that respected his creativity, because ever since he's been on CBS, he needs ratings, and he's so over the top that it's not even funny anymore.
Well, look, let's cut to the chase. It's shameful and it's un-American. It is American to disagree. It is American to say, this president, I'm not his biggest fan. Here's where I differ. That's American. But when you go so low that you don't want kids to watch it, I mean, I have to say, the reason I did this book is I said that we who are conservatives, we need to do stuff that's fun, that's maybe making fun of the other side, but that does it in a way that's respectful. We don't go low.
Yeah, when you say fun, you mean like former Attorney General Eric Holder says, when they go low, we kick them.
We kick them.
So that's kind of what we're hearing in our public discourse right now. The former AG is saying when they go low, they're down, kick them.
Yeah.
You know, which is kind of like one of the things you teach your sons in a regular street fight. Once the guy's down, don't kick him while he's down.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's like it's like at the end of a football game. You scrapped it out with the guy. You put your finger up his nose. He spit on you. But at the end of the game, they take their helmets off and they walk down and they shake hands. And that's what kids need to learn. And that's what people need to learn. That at the end of all days, if we're ever going to change the political discourse,
that's right.
You got to say things that are, you could say things that are biting, but if you keep in mind, you know what, I'm going to shake hands with this guy. I'm going to see him at another fundraiser. I'm going to have to reach across the aisle for him on a bill that I need 1 or 2 Democrats with me. If you keep that in mind, maybe we could change.
Well,
Eric,
this is not happening. But that's the American way. And if right now the GOP is the only pro-American party, so be it. I think the people in America, when they see the other side go so low, they're going to back off. They're going to lose election after election until they learn this is not acceptable. You have to appeal to the people. If you can't make your case in the right way, people are going to turn away. You think mobs and screaming and bullying is going to work? Well, you tried for a while, but in America, that's not going to work.
Trump's so good at the tagline, right? He said, Democrats make mobs, Republican makes jobs. He just comes up with these things like boom.
Exactly.
Eric, tell us where we can find the book.
You could find the book anywhere except in bookstores that hide it because it's a pro-Trump book. So I want people to go into bookstore. Obviously, get it online, ericmetaxas.com. But if you go to a bookstore and you don't see this book, please find somebody and say, why don't you have this book out? It was in the Amazon top 100. It's doing really well. I saw it on TV because I was on the Huckabee Show. I've been on Fox News. The fact that they're hiding it, that also tells you something about what's going on in America. Not a good thing.
We're going to do a little magic trick. You go to ericmetaxas.com. You can find Donald Drains the Swamp. Eric, thanks for giving us a few minutes.
Thank you.
We'll see you back right here on What's the Deal. We'll see you right after this.
Man, that was fun. Thank you.
Hey, welcome back. Another unbelievable show here on What's the Deal, and another esteemed panel brought to us this week with our usual producer, Frank Morano, our layman and independent reformer, and of course joining us today are Amy Kramer. Amy's a Republican, and she is the founder of Women for Trump. That's a tough organization right there. Yes. But we have Democratic strategist Scott Levinson with us. Scott, you're the founder and president of the Advance Group. On the left, in the mainstream media, they're saying that women have now gone against Trump. You hear this over and over again. Those school moms, those suburban moms, they're fed up with him. They're fed up with his Twitter. I run into women across the country who are like, I think he's doing great. Well, what are your women in your organization
I am one of those suburban moms. I live in the suburbs of Atlanta, and I will tell you that it's not true. They said the same thing during the election when, they're parading all these women out and accusing them of this, that, and the other. And what women care about are the economy, national security. They want to know that they can take care of their families, that they can put food on their table, send their kids to college, and provide for their families. That's what they care about.
I have a real question about this, and I don't think there's anybody more appropriate to ask this to a woman who's heading up Women for Trump. How do you deal with the misogyny? How do you deal with the ugly speech directed towards women in particular?
It's a question I'm asked every day.
Okay,
numerous times a day. You know what? What matters is his actions. My husband says things that I don't agree with.
Is that okay?
I'm not excusing anything. You're talking about
seems like you are.
No, I'm not excusing anything. But what is more important to me?
Something
that was no.
How do you deal with the misogyny? How do you deal with it?
Listen, can I finish my answer?
Absolutely.
What do I care about? I care about the economy, national security, my family. Those are the things that I care about. What he said in a private situation years ago, of course there are things I don't agree with that he said. Like I said, there are things that I don't agree with that my husband said. But at the same time, did you expect me to vote for Hillary Clinton just because I'm a woman? Because let me tell you something. It is an insult to my intelligence.
That's more misogynist than some locker room talk.
It's an insult to my intelligence that I'm going to vote for somebody just because she has the best same body parts.
So you're saying that the way the president speaks about women shouldn't matter to women as much as his actions.
What I'm saying is his actions. He was one of the first people.
I heard you on the actions.
If you really think about it,
he was one of the first people that had women in construction.
I just asked a question about his speech.
Right.
I asked a question about his speech.
I would say this. I always kind of try to dumb it down to the behavior of children. And if you think about it, one of the things you try to teach your kids from when they're young is like there's a big difference between words and actions.
Actually, what I try and teach my son is about mutual respect.
I agree with
decency.
you. I agree with you.
And I think the way we talk to people,
your actions are always more important than your words. Everybody says, I'm going to win the race. I'm going to pass the test.
I'm sorry, with all due respect, that's a cop-out.
Look at the number of women
it's a way of not taking responsibility for the words you say.
You're watching What's the Deal where we get to the real deal on a variety of politics and topics, and we're having a very spirited debate today. The midterm elections obviously are increasing the rhetoric all over the place, and now on top of that, just this weekend, the murder of 11 Jewish folks and injuring of many more, including law enforcement. The rhetoric is so high that you have apparently a Trump supporter sending pipe bombs to prominent Democrats, and then you have a zealous Democrat go out and open fire on innocent, unarmed folks trying to respect their faith. Is it just Donald Trump, as the left says, or is it both sides that are creating this discourse and incivility? Amy, go ahead.
So I believe that
he's only going to interrupt you while you're talking anyway, so I'll let you go first.
No, I mean, I believe that each individual is responsible for their own actions. So rhetoric has been dialed up on both sides, and I believe that it's all of us, it's incumbent upon all of us to be respectful of each other. When you're talking about, you teach your son, about mutual respect, I like to live my life by the golden rule. And when I sat down here with you, I said, we can get along, we can do this and be nice. And I agree with that. I mean, I go on TV all the time, we walk off set, we may go have a drink, we may go have dinner or whatever. We argue like cats and dogs on set, but at the end of the day, we're all human beings. And I like to think that we should respect each other and treat each other the way you want to be treated.
Frank, talking about equal treatment, how come she gets to go for drinks after and I get nothing? That's my producer right there. On other shows, they take you for drinks.
Sorry, Frank.
Nothing.
No,
over
they
here.
don't. But we do, because we are Americans. I mean,
Got it.
At the end of the day, we are all red-blooded Americans. And
Scott, where does it end? When is the crescendo of this? Is it if the Republicans win and Hillary says things like there's going to be a civil war until we get control again, what kind of dog whistles are the Democratic Party putting out there?
I mean, I think, to your point, one, everybody has personal responsibility for both their actions and their language. I don't think, any debate on that. And I think my point earlier that we should highlight and the importance of decency in our political discourse and the way we communicate with each other is important. There is a tremendous amount of demonization of the other that is going out there in our political discourse. It takes place in anti-Semitism. It takes place in Islamophobia. It takes place in homophobia. There is a tremendous amount of demonizing of the other.
And most of this comes from you got MSNBC on one side, you got Fox News on the other side, and it's almost like
it comes from a certain xenophobia.
It's almost like why watch it? Why watch either? Because you know exactly what you're getting served.
It comes from a certain xenophobia, which has long time been a struggle in this country between how isolationist we're going to be and how much a part of the global community. This still remains an ongoing debate. There is no right or wrong answer. We clearly cannot isolate ourselves from the rest of the world. We're clearly part of the world community. The question is how much.
If you're sick of the propaganda from the left and the right, that's what we're here for. You tune in to the alternative NFL programming right here on Newsmax TV. You're watching What's the Deal, the show that doesn't kneel. We'll be back right after this with The Caravan is Coming. All right, welcome back. Just a few weeks ago, all the left was going crazy. The caravan's going to be at the border right for the midterm elections. What's Trump going to do? He's going to send the soldiers. They're going to shoot the Mexican babies, the Honduran families. What's the deal?
I'm sorry. I mean, the framing of the way we open this topic is part of the problem.
It's a fact.
No, the president has clearly been talking about the dangers of this invading caravan. It was the president who suggested the invasion, quote unquote, was imminent. It's the president who suggested that there was a real danger to the security of the United States.
Well, there is.
Even Shepard Smith came on TV yesterday on Fox, your station,
Let's
not
go to the
mine,
ship.
to talk
my
about
station
how
is Newsmax,
this
man.
is
That's it.
not a threat to the United States security, and it is part of his, let me finish please, it is part of that ongoing demonization of the other, creating a fear that doesn't exist of an invading force of people who don't look like the America that Donald
Let
Trump
me ask you something.
wants to
Wait, no, but
and
let
it
me-
is
let
this
me just say this,
ongoing
Scott.
protection
If
and
a ship-
demonization of everything that is not
If
part
a
of that
ship
America.
pulled up, if a ship pulled up to Honduras with 5,000 Chinese men was walking to the border, would that be an invading force?
You know, the last time I looked,
No,
I
you're
didn't
talking
see a
about physics
statue.
before.
Last time
Would that
I
be
looked,
an would
last
that
time
be
I
an invading
looked,
force?
last time I looked, I didn't see the Statue of Liberty on the shores of Honduras. I saw it on New York Harbor.
Right.
It is our culture, our history.
You know what
which
they did?
welcomes,
You know what they did with
which
boatloads
welcomes
of
people.
Italians,
It's
right? They
part
took them to a
of who we
quarantined island.
are.
guys.
They
So-
took them to a
Y'all.
quarantine
It's part of who
island.
we are.
They
So
took
to
them to a
compare us
quarantined
to
Can I
island
say something
where
here?
they
Honduras
checked people in.
is really
Listen.
lowering
Kept
the
people
bar
in
a little bit,
cages
don't
and
you think?
stockades
Scott, I have a
until they went
question.
through a
I have a-
process.
Honduras?
I have a question for you. Did you see when the caravan got to the border of Guatemala and there was a fence there, and what did they do? They knocked down the fence and went in. They didn't care. It wasn't like they're knocking on the door saying, "Can I come in?" They just went in. Why is this caravan? Why are they denying if they're seeking asylum? Which number one, there have to be reasons that you are granted asylum.
80%.
I'm sorry, have you been to this
Wait,
asylum
wait, no,
case? Have you been
let
to
me
these countries?
let me finish. I let you finish.
Okay.
Yes, I have. I'm a former Delta flight attendant, and I've been to Honduras and I've been to Guatemala.
And do you
So
not think these
and El
people are escaping
Salvador.
political
So
oppression?
wait a second.
Do you think these
so
people are escaping political
when
oppression?
they're escaping
No.
You haven't
poverty,
been there, she has.
they're escaping poverty and some crime-ridden areas, but that's not a reason for them to be granted asylum. They
Obama
have-
said these are
Wait, no,
Obama
wait,
said these are
hold on.
poverty-stricken. This is what Obama said
Families
yesterday.
working hard to
No,
better
Obama
themselves.
said
Listen
yesterday
to-
these
To
are
improve life for their
poverty-stricken,
children is not something we
starving
should
people.
demonize.
And
You
I
know
see
what?
these
Then come here
videos-
legally.
kind
Do
of
you let
nation
anybody into your house
does-
at night to sleep? I mean,
Yeah.
just whoever
I mean,
you
we-
want,
we
come
wanna
in
be
and
nice.
sleep.
I
in.
have some extra space.
I mean, yeah, but the thing is,
I mean,
you know
I know
what?
the price of hotel rooms
This is the
in
thing.
this city.
This is the thing
I'm
is
just
that
saying.
you would want somebody to knock at your door and ask, and then you grant them permission. You would not want them just to knock down your door and come in and say,
What I
"Hey,
don't
you,
want to do,
I'm taking this
what
room."
I don't want to do is when they're two countries away, suggest that they're a threat to my national security to further demonize the
Listen,
other.
this is
in
the thing.
country.
This is
And
the thing,
is
is
the
that this
code word.
president-
Those are the push buttons.
This president
that everybody
put
is talking
America
about. The
first.
dog whistling.
That is
is
what
exactly that.
No, this is the deal. The real deal is that President Trump ran on an America First agenda, and that means putting Americans first. I'm not against legal immigration, but do it right. Go to a port of
Here's the
entry and
problem.
get in line and pay
This
the
is
money
the problem.
just like all the other people.
This is the problem.
Bureau-
Why is that a problem?
Exactly how we set up this framing is the
What's the
problem.
problem?
Because you set up the dynamic that if we help people who are struggling to help their families, we're hurting America. I think America is greater than that. I think America is stronger than that. I think America is more than able to absorb a couple of hundred immigrants without harming, excuse me, let me finish, without harming the economic future of our nation. To suggest otherwise
In
is a
2015,
myth and creates
over
demonization of the
50%
other.
of
That's what you're doing,
immigrants
Amy.
were on
That's what
welfare.
you're doing.
Should
We're on welfare.
America, Warren Buffett in his book says, when you're making a deal, people are on their best behavior on the way in. Okay, think about that. So once they're in, then you start to get the worst out of them as you get to know them. So if their best behavior is, I want to break into your country, then I kind of feel like we need to do something to demonstrate that our borders
And how
are
many
real
of
and our
these
entry
people
points are
have
real.
already been deported and now they're coming back again?
But to Scott's point, America's always been the land of the free, the home of the brave, and we welcome people with open arms. I think, like
We
any
are a melting
house,
pot.
when I grew up, my house, the door was always open. But if people started to take advantage of it, then my father, who was a New York City police officer, knew exactly when to shut the door and tell everybody else to get lost, and the party was over. So I think Trump is kind of, as much as he acts, sophomoric sometimes, I think he is kind of being an adult in the room and say, hey, head that way to the asylum counter.
Amen.
And if you're able to come on in, come on in. If you're not, head back to where you came from. And that's where I come down on it. We had a spirited debate today. We talk it through. We interrupt each other. We disagree. We agree. But in the end, we part friends. Friends, thank you very much for joining us this week on What's the Deal.
We go out
They even
nicer.
shook hands.
We go out nicer than we went.
And there is a slight possibility that Frankie is going to take me for a trip.
You got it. Martini's on me.
Cryptocurrency, the tales from the crypt, blockchain, and so much more right after this on Newsmax TV. What's the deal? Welcome back to What's the Deal. It's the only show on television that every week is bringing you a full segment or 2 or 3 about cryptocurrency, about blockchain, and how entrepreneurs around the world are using these new technologies and these new use cases to bring the world a new economy. Joining us as usual in the crypto segment is my esteemed co-host, Neelam Brar. And Neelam, we have been traveling the globe for the last few years, watching the evolution of Bitcoin and crypto and blockchain. But it's gotten so bad now. I'm going to read you this from Reader's Digest. Bitcoin could be ecologically unsound, and the researchers at the esteemed University of Hawaii say that virtual currency is having a negative effect on the global climate. The problem comes from the fact that cryptocurrency trading requires heavy hardware that uses a lot of electricity, and the resulting carbon dioxide is having a catastrophic effect on global warming, and especially if the digital currency gains worldwide popularity.
False.
She's not just playing a smart person on TV. She's actually a very brilliant woman entrepreneur and knows a hell of a lot more about cryptocurrency than me or Frankie or probably all of us. Could this be true?
No. I mean, look, here's the thing. I think people like to get headlines and say very extreme statements. Yes, it takes a lot of energy to run a mining farm, but it is really just a fraction of the energy usage in the world. There are other industries that are consuming a lot more.
I know
energy.
Some of these mining companies that are out in Iceland and Denmark and all these places, and they got them in these facilities that are built right next to a river, and they're using hydroelectric power.
Yep.
Some of them are using solar farms. So is this like just hysteria at this point?
Look, everybody's looking for cheaper sources of power. I mean, you're right. There's a lot of hydropower being used. Montreal is a great example of this. Quebec has a lot of mining farms. But it's not as significant as this article makes it look.
Frankie, does this story even make sense to you?
Well, so I honestly don't know enough about how cryptocurrency is created, but if you do use machines to create the digital signature of a Bitcoin or some similar cryptocurrency, I'm wondering, with all these advances in technology, is there a way to have it be a bit more efficient so that it doesn't use as much energy as it does?
Well, people are working on other alternatives. So the reason why it takes up so much energy is people are, right now these machines rely on proof of work. And the work that the computer is doing is solving a computational problem. And as soon as computers solve that, another Bitcoin is staked. People are saying proof of location, there's a lot of people working on other ways to validate data.
The crypto for dummies on this is all these machines that verify these transactions, that verify these computational math problems, by solving problems and verifying, they gain some fraction of a Bitcoin for their efforts, and that's the mining component. And you get enough, you have 1 Bitcoin or 2 or 5 or 10 by being a node on the network. So by being a participating computer on the network and verifying transactions, you get paid for your work.
Yeah, it's true. I think the number of mining farms has increased, and that does cause people to think this might be a huge number. It's significant, but there's certainly other industries.
The word is today there's over 500 recognized coins. The numbers are probably even more staggering than that, but ones that are ranked in this supposed ranking system.
If you go to coinlist.com, there's pages and pages of coins, right?
So if you go to coinlist.com, who's not a sponsor of the show, but they should be, you can find the ranking list of coins. But I kind of think that there was this mass hysteria like the internet bubble. But I think it's starting to settle down now, and the market is kind of calming down. I think it's really the herd's gonna get culled, and there's gonna be 50 or 100 that are real.
That's so interesting that you say that, John, because I've heard you and a number of other authorities on the subject say similar things. Some people even say that there's a Bitcoin bubble or a crypto bubble that's about to burst. But I
think that happened already. The burst happened.
But I saw one article that said from Nigel Green, who's founder of a firm that deals in Bitcoin. He said he's expecting a 5,000% gain in the cryptocurrency market over the next decade. Apparently now it's something like a $400 billion market, and he's expecting and forecasting that it's going to be a $20 trillion market. Do you buy that?
I think when we talked about this in an episode before, there is room and an opportunity for a global currency. It's going to take a lot of people to cooperate, and if that prevails, then we will have a very, very large number of cryptocurrencies. Western Union is not efficient. There are middlemen in there taking a lot of money, and unfortunately, it's people of lesser means that rely on Western Union, and they get taxed a big fee.
Legal immigrant who has a job and works every day and gets his pay at the end of the week, and he made $1,000 and he wants to send $500 back to Guatemala or Mexico or Honduras, wherever his family is. He goes down to Western Union and they charge him 10% on this side, right? So he's down $50. And then when his wife, mother, girlfriend, grandma goes into Western Union to receive it, they charge him another 10 on the other side. So the most impoverished people who are trying to get money across borders are getting hit the worst way, like usurious rates, like loan shark rates. They're paying 20%. And I know that there are companies out there that are putting Bitcoin ATMs in bodegas in Latin and Spanish neighborhoods. And the people go in there with their cash and they feed it into the Bitcoin machine. And then their wife goes to a Bitcoin machine in Honduras or Guatemala and takes out the money on that side, and they're charging 2 to 5% for that. So it's already affecting, global monolithic organizations like Western Union. Some really exciting things are going to be coming to you from Newsmax on stuff that's totally innovative that they're going to be doing around cryptocurrency, and we may break that news just next week. But my panel, any final thoughts, Neelam?
Okay, I think everybody should be educating themselves about blockchain, not just blockchain, AI, VR, quantum. These are things that are going to become words that are used often. It's important that you have at least a few statements in your mind of what they mean.
AI, artificial intelligence, VR, virtual reality.
Very
Just
good.
breaking it down for those at home who don't know all the acronyms. Frankie, any final?
I think everybody, people like me, the crypto layman out there, we want to be educated, but the thing that makes us cynical is that it seems like so many people that are in a position to educate have some sort of an agenda. So where do people go, and this is a question, maybe a rhetorical one, for unbiased information about VR, AI, blockchain, cryptocurrency in general?
Well, you're watching What's the Deal on Newsmax TV, the go-to place to try to get some information in layman's terms and learn just a little bit more. So keep learning. Keep watching. We're bringing you the best experts. We're bringing you the best companies. We're trying to break it down for you every week. These are the tales from the crypto. Thank you for tuning again for week number 5 of What's the Deal. We'll see you again right here on Newsmax TV.